And 5, 6, 7, 8. Welcome, everybody, to the Spartan Public Podcast. This is a podcast that discusses life, business, careers, and the whole world through the eyes of PR and comms people. Today, we're missing out on Duffy, but we gained a new friend, everybody, and her name is Senka Hadzimuratovic. She is the head of comms at Lovable, and she's going to be not really a co-host, but really more of a guest, a one-on-one, a fireside chat, if you will,
I
with the
love
two of us today. So Senka and I is really funny. We met, I feel like, through Mixing Board.
that's right. In
And I
Austin,
think
Texas.
Austin, Texas, and I think that you were somebody that is very similar to me, where like if you go to an event by yourself, then you just kind of like find the familiar faces and like pull them out in the crowd.
That's right. That's
And
right.
that's we did that because we both were alone.
But I felt like you had it all together, and I was like, she knows what she's doing. I'm going to just hang on to her and ride her coattails. Maybe I never
I
told
just
you that.
But I mean, happy for you to do that because I never know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
You were the
that's
best cheerleader. This was right when I was starting my not so long, but very powerful consulting journey. And I was like, Katie, how do you do it? And I learned so much from you.
well, for those that don't know Senka, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your comms journey? How did you end up at Lovable? As you guys can all guess, this is definitely going to be the episode about AI and comms. So talk to us about just like how you got to this point and what your careers look like so far.
Yeah, of course. So I actually started out in the very sexy industry of pharmaceuticals. I worked for Novartis in Switzerland after studying journalism at Northwestern, thinking that I was going to be the next Christiane Amanpour, just doing my hardest investigative journalism. I am not. I learned about a career in corporate communication and thought, yeah, this feels better. This feels more right. And the reason is largely because the thing that has always been true for me is telling the story. So whatever the medium and the message, I love doing it. So I lived in Switzerland, which was a really great way to explore life outside the U.S. And then actually jumped into tech after leaving Novartis to join a gene therapy startup in San Diego to try my hands at really building from the ground up. And then I ended up at Grammarly, made the shift into tech at Grammarly during its heyday. Ended up being there for 6.5 years, building out the comms function, leading brand at the end as well. And then a couple of years ago, thought to myself, it is time to, I've been married for a long time to multiple companies, but I wanted to date around, see what else is out there, and really take a stab at figuring out what's next. And I ended up at Lovable after about 1.5 years of consulting and doing the dating around thing, talking to lots of founders, working with some smaller startups, and could not say no to the opportunity because, hello, have you seen
Yeah. The
the
rocket
world
ship.
today?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I joined back in November of 2025. And it's funny when people ask me, when I talk to them, like, oh, how long have you been there? Like 4 months. They're like, oh, cool. So how's the onboarding going? Like, that's very funny. That is very, very funny. 4 months has felt like years for sure, in the best way.
I feel like working in an AI company, particularly one that is the crazy growth that Lovable has had, would feel like everything is in dog years.
That's right. It
Yeah.
is. And you
Yeah.
have to love that kind of pace.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, which I feel like knowing you as a person, like couldn't have thought of a better role for you. I remember when you were first in talks with them and you were like, I think I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to leave consulting and go to them. Like, how could I say no? And I just remember thinking, you bitch, that's such a cool job.
And you were correct. It is cool. I feel so lucky. What a privilege to be in this time getting to do this
Yep.
work. Yeah.
So tell for those not following along, tell people in the crowd a little bit what Lovable is.
Yeah. I think the simplest way to put it is that with Lovable, you can use AI to build software, um, without having the technical or coding skills to do so. You can build an app, you can build a website just by chatting with AI. And the beauty is, as the technology advances, Lovable also advances very, very quickly. Every day, the product looks quite different because we've added new features and functionalities. So we're now considering Lovable sort of your technical co-founder. You can help create a business, you can do the pitch deck, you can do all of that, and then actually build that business online and have the back end of payments and databases and all the things to run your business on Lovable. So that's AI co-founder. That's the word.
What I love about how you just described that is just the accessibility that it gives. Because I think when you think about comms people trying to use AI and the capabilities that Lovable has, like, it's hard to imagine because everyone thinks like, oh, I'm gonna have it put together my, like, my briefing doc, but like there's so much more we can be doing with AI than that. Like, can you tell us a little bit about how you guys are using Lovable for comms?
Yeah. So one thing that you'll learn about me if you don't know it yet, but anyone who's worked with me does, is that I'm actually quite a data-driven comms person. I love measurement. I love, I ran brand marketing at Grammarly for a bit too. So brand awareness, paying attention to sort of those things was really important. And um, one of my use cases is, and I get to actually build the dashboards of what I want to see exactly, right? We've all used tools from Muckrack to Delve to, all of these different places where we're tracking certain things, but to be able to pull it all together and how I want to look at it, what's important to me, from key message penetration to, your typical share of voice, things like that. I get to play around so much to create visualizations that would have taken a team or would have just never gotten it quite right. It's like, I know what I need. I'm the subject matter expert here. So that's one. Another is, I know you mentioned briefing docs, and yeah, it's one thing to create briefing docs, and I think we've all used AI at this point to help structure those. But with our CEO, he loves like a good dopamine hit when he's getting prepared to either be on stage or talk to a reporter. And so I actually turned his briefing docs into a Duolingo style study app. So literally he can just go through and get asked a tough question, and he has 30 seconds to answer, and he better know how to bridge, and it gives sort of that feeling of satisfaction when you get it right. So yes, I've gamified briefing docs, and it maybe feels so simple, but like, I've worked in comms for almost 2 decades, and like, I've never been able to do something like that. So
Senka, that just exploded my head off of my head. Like that, it's so, okay, this is the coolest part about AI is like once you unlock a door of like, I can do this. Well,
yes,
can I do this?
yes,
Like, that is crazy to me. And that is one thing where it's like, oh my God, Duolingo briefing doc where you gamify the questions and responses. Like,
yeah,
that's really fucking smart.
yeah,
That's such a
yeah.
cool idea.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's one of those things where you're so right about the feeling of it just feels so, you'll get the dopamine high from having created something, right? And not being blocked or having to work with like, hey, can you create this little thing for me? Which, like, if your edge team is never going to do that, no one's going to take the time to create something like that, right? You don't have those kinds of resources, so now you do. The other piece that I'll say is, it's so cheesy when you ask me what is Lovable. I almost want to say Lovable empowers everyone, because that's like a line. And doesn't every company try to empower everybody in everything that they do? It's like this vape pen, it's so empowering people to consume nicotine,
Yeah.
but truly the feeling
I'm
that you
interested.
get when you first do it, to your point, like, there is just this feeling of like agency and I can do this. What else can I do? It is very exciting, and it keeps you kind of young too.
Yeah, no, I love that. Okay, so we're talking about a lot about AI and comms just generally across our industry. Like anyone that's on LinkedIn or anyone that's on Twitter will know that like that's a huge conversation. But I think that there's like already showing through in this conversation that we're having now, but I think that there is another level of like, what does doing comms in an AI company look like? Like, do you sleep? Do you eat? Like, what does it look like in that environment? Or how do you keep up with the pace of innovation
Yeah.
when people are so used to like a traditional launch strategy. What does that all look like to you?
Yeah, I think first of all, if you are someone who likes to be in control, which I am, and my
Which
community
people usually are, I feel like. Let's
most
be
people
real.
it's like, I want to this is the message, and we gotta get the message out.
Yes.
There is at first it can feel like a loss of control because you're like, "Oh my god, it's coming from everywhere." I've never seen a press inbox like ours. I've never, been handed on a platter like, "Hey, could your CEO please take main stage and do a keynote here?" Or, "Hey, can we talk to, like, just even a any individual from the company on this podcast that will get, 50,000 views in one night?"
Delicious. I love
It's
it.
it's
It's
really
the dream.
incredible. It is the dream it is the dream, and, it is rare, and I don't take it for granted. The thing that I think is really important, and I can say so much on this topic, so we can go down a rabbit hole, is that there are still some really important pieces. Like when I came in and I like saw the barrage of like, let's do this and that, and then you have the barrage from the outside, but you also have like constantly. I mentioned to you like every day we ship something.
Yeah.
We even today, if you go on our LinkedIn and our Twitter, like there's like seemingly four different messages because like we shipped our new brand video which explains how the product works today and it's a little more like inspiring. We shipped you can now do comments inside the app so that you can collaborate better. We won Fast Company's most innovative company like 2 days ago, and that's swirling. There's just so many things
Mm.
just like in the last 48 hours that you can feel like, well, is any message coming through? And so it's really important is to still start with like, what is the story we want to tell?
Mm.
So take it back to basics, like Lovable has a core narrative. I developed it within, the first few weeks of being there, really looking at like, what are the five pillars, like the key messages that we want to get across in anything that
Yep.
we do and anything that we own. And that becomes an anchor for anything that we do proactively. It also becomes a really great way to filter through where we should be showing up from the inbound. And it helps, I just mentioned these things that happened over the last 48 hours. They're all rooted in this core message. So Katie, just to break it down, in 2025, probably the reason you heard of Lovable is because we're financially doing well, right? It's
Yep.
fastest growing startup within 8 months, 100 million ARR. We're hitting this ARR in ways that was just never seen before. And that was a really interesting business story. And it's a story that, to be clear, we are still doing really great on ARR, and that is amazing. But we've really made a shift, a deliberate shift that you won't hear that coming from us anymore. It's the
Yeah.
talking point, that'll come up when we're talking to business press, but it's not the headline. It's not what we lead with. We really want to lead with tried and true. I know if you're at any company that has a customer, you lead with what are you creating for them, right? This ARR is not coming from out of thin air. It's people building real things using your product.
Hmm.
We want to tell those stories. With our Series B in December, we ushered in what we're calling the age of the builder. And this is really that person who has the ideas and can now bring those to life. And you'll see a lot more from us. And so even the things that I just mentioned that came out over the last couple of days, they're all to empower the builder, right?
Mm.
Most innovative company, we won that because we're democratizing software creation for people who are non-technical. The commenting feature inside the app is a way for people who might be collaborating on a project to better, to better be able to do that. The brand video is really, front and center about you have an idea, go build it. So it still fits into that core narrative. That doesn't go away just because there's so much attention and there's this deluge. And yeah, of course the ARR will still drive the headlines.
Right.
But that is not our lead message. And yeah, it's the most boring message of them all to me personally.
What as separate from the narrative too, and kind of like that's the work that you're doing in the background at the company, like that's how you're keeping the story on track. Like, where are you seeing a mindset shift around comms and what you can do with comms and AI?
Yeah, if we talk about AI more broadly, first of all, I have to admit that a former colleague of mine, who's a great friend, I hired him into Grammarly. He once gave me a sticker that says, use the M dash. I think that's what the sticker says. It's still on my personal computer.
You're going to
This was,
trigger everyone on this in the audience.
and I love an M dash. Katie, I've been using M dashes forever.
Oxford comma as well. I'm a big Oxford.
Oh yeah. And now we can't. You got to strip it out to prove that you have at least reviewed the very things that was created with AI. But more, I think more importantly, you know, being at an AI native company, everything has changed in the way that I look at using AI, and even beyond comms, just watching folks in other departments do it. But I think the biggest piece, and it isn't just about Lovable, like this extends beyond, is this feeling of agency and access, and I can actually do this myself. Now, an example I mentioned to you, I'm very big on data and love getting my hands on anything to inform any story that we're telling. And so maybe we're working on something where we need internal data about usage or whatnot. That used to be maybe like a ticket you put in Jira that goes to your data science team or whoever's handling data and insights. We have a little bot in Slack, and you can ask that bot literally anything, and it pulls from all of the data, and I immediately have the answer. And sometimes, of course, if I'm creating a narrative, I will check and make sure there's this human piece of it. It's just so much easier. It's so much faster. There's so much more knowledge sharing that can happen because of that. So yeah, I come back to kind of this, like, the agency piece that comes along with like operating in an AI native world, and what that unlocks.
I also think there's just like a hot take to be had here of like, if we as comms people know what good looks like that, we are judgment now. We know what good looks like in this AI beigey kind of world. And I know my own opinion of this is evolving as well. But right now, my opinion is, as of March 26th, like, who gives a shit if people know we use AI or not?
Oh my God.
Like,
Yeah.
that's my thing. I'm like, people like, oh, like my M dash and my the sequencing. Like, here's the thing, like, some people actually just write like that. And an M dash is good grammar. And if
Yes.
you have it's not this, it's this, like, that used to be a really compelling way to have an argument.
Exactly.
And like, like, it really drives a point home, like, who gives a shit if it looks like AI if you're telling your story well? And so I think people are actually dumbing their own stuff down because they're afraid it looks like AI.
Yeah.
My God, the adding typos drives me nuts. Keith Rubin did this post the other day where it was like, execs are now in their emails doing that type of shit to make sure that people know that they're not using AI.
That is so different at Lovable, where we literally have a mandate. I mean, our CEO just even 2 weeks ago was like, hey, I want everyone to play around with this. If you haven't tried this, like, even down to, the note takers, a company might be like, okay, we're using this one. It's the only one that's approved. Like, our security team is like, you can use these 7. Like, we're still going to like make sure that they pass certain security checks and whatnot, but we're not limiting you because we want you to play around. We want you to figure out the best thing. One thing I'll also say about using AI in comms, for those of us who've worked with PR agencies or any sort of partner that you're bringing on, or we've led teams, and we might get some information and we need to trickle it down so that people can do their jobs. Like, to me, AI functions the same way. Like, you have to give it context, just as you would give your agency partner context. Like, if they don't know that this exec is really focused on this, and this is the message we want to get out in the market, how do you expect them to come up with like a really great PR campaign? They can't. They don't have the context. And I feel the same way about any sort of AI tool that's helping us do the work of comms. So in some cases might be Lovable, using Claude to write something. There is a real importance in making sure that the information is there, and it's getting easier, right? We have these connectors now, like Lovable connects to everything that you might use to inform the work that you do. Other tools do as well. So it's getting easier, but I think the thing that's most important, as it has been in our profession always, is setting the right context. So I think comms people actually have an advantage. Like if you've learned to do that well, if you've learned to write a really good brief and provide that context, like you will get better outputs, period.
I also think it's just like it's a thought partner, right? Like people always talk about it as an assistant, like it's your
Yeah.
executive assistant, but
Mhm.
then they expect everything to come out perfectly. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah. To be
Like,
clear, my executive assistant, she is perfect, but she's a real human. She made sure I ate before this call. So
man,
yeah, we love her.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit because one thing we were talking about in the prep call that I thought was really interesting too is like my Claude updates like 7 times a day with new updates, and each of them are like so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, do you think that people are numb or like getting numb to what's happening in all of the technology? Like people are getting used to it and they're, expecting more and more? Or is that just like us? Or how do you like excite people when so much is blowing your mind and
Yeah.
other people like the developer world is like, oh yeah, well, it's not, whatever compatible with the, I don't know. Yeah.
I feel that. Well, first, I have to say that I, as a human, I've always tried to live a life in which, like, I'll step outside of my home here in San Francisco and look up and look at the building. You know, I live in a baby blue Victorian, and I look around, and the houses are so cute. And maybe it's a sunny day, and I'm like, this is amazing. It's so beautiful. I love it. So I bring that type of energy to anywhere I go. But I think the larger point here is like we absolutely live in an echo chamber. Like think about it. I'm in San Francisco. I see Waymos all the time. I take Waymos all the time. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, this is really cool. Like my family in Tennessee is like, what? You ride in a car that is not driven by a human being? That's wild. And I think the same is true for the tech. Like we're so in it that we're very quickly unimpressed because we're at the forefront, and I think this is especially true for a company like Lovable that's focused on what we call the 99%, the people with ideas who don't code. Because those are people who have subject matter expertise in areas that um, they now realize, wait, technology can solve this for me. Like a nurse who has been, working in her profession and is like, "Oh, I want to be able to show my patients like the journey that they're going to go through. And she built this patient journey app to
Mm.
show them exactly like, this is what it's going to look like. And like she did that because she had the expertise and she's a nurse. And of course she's like, wow, I can just do that. That is magical. And so there's
Mhm.
millions of people, I think, who still are like, wow, this is magic. Now it's on us and the developers of the technology to make sure we bring people along so they get it and we don't stay in our echo chamber. And of course, continue to develop and ship to make it better and easier for them to do that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm amazed. I'm still amazed
Yeah.
by airplanes though. Like we're just in the sky. You're in the sky flying through the air. This is insane.
It's so funny. You just reminded me of that Louis C.K. bit where he's like, people are like complaining about like the turbulence, where he's like,
Yeah.
you're flying through the air,
Air.
or
Exactly.
like, oh, I don't know why I can't get cell service, and he's like,
Right.
you were talking to a man in India. You live in Utah. Like that's
It's wild.
crazy.
Exactly, exactly. I'm still like, man, this my toaster, this bread, like it is now dark. Like I am one of those people, but I think it's a good way to be, right? That's a good way to go through life. Very appreciative.
100%. Oh my God, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about storytelling with AI a little bit as well. So AI companies get a ton of press, Lovable in particular. I think there's a lot of skepticism and backlash that happens as well. Like, how do you decide when to lean into narratives and when to kind of like let them go?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like from a strategy standpoint?
Yeah, first I have to say haters gonna hate. That's
Yeah.
an official company line. It is not an official company line, but it is true, right? I mean, if you've worked for, again, I also worked in pharmaceuticals, so I'm very aware that there are
Mm,
very legitimate reasons to have issues with a company, with a brand, with a product. And there's validity when you get feedback. So I don't want to dismiss that. And maybe that sounded a bit callous, but I think it's
I'm
coming
here
back
for it.
to it's coming back to that narrative and making sure like you are still able to push that narrative. So if there's a narrative out in the market that is just so contradictory and just not true, like if things are just blatantly false, we of course act on them. If there are things that are just like, oh, is this company going to survive the hype? I'm like, yeah, is Facebook going to survive the hype? Is Amazon going to survive the hype? I don't know. These questions have been asked before, and not that I'm comparing
Yeah.
my company to that, but those narratives are always going to be out there for anything that's new and exciting. I think the big thing I would say is we are much faster in areas that matter compared to places where I've worked, in that we give ourselves permission to act. If I give myself, I have the permission. I just
Yeah.
act.
You're
So
the boss.
even I'm the boss. I just do it. But we have a lot of agency that comes along with that. I think last week we were implicated in with this company of who we were a customer, and there was this investigative report that showed that they committed fraud, and like we immediately were like, we need to distance ourselves because like we were not at all involved in the fraud. It did not affect us at all,
Mhm.
because in this report we were named as a customer, and again, we are a former customer. um, it was really important that we immediately got out there, and we did immediately on social
Mhm.
media, and said, the things that are really important for our customers to hear. So we'll definitely do that, and I think that's really, really
Yeah.
important. A media article that's speculating. I will say I've learned a lot about Swedish tabloids. Our
Mm.
CEO will sneeze and they will write something.
Yeah.
There's definitely you got to let some of the things go.
I remember being at Salesforce and nobody knowing what we did and who we were in Sydney, in Australia. But then Atlassian would sneeze and get
Yes,
all the coverage. And I was like,
yes.
who are these guys?
Well, I would say it's a double-edged sword. It's a,
Mm,
you are the darling because everyone's proud of your
mm, of
success.
course.
But they're also going to be the most critical. It's like your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's cute. I like that.
Like, mom, I can wear this. Just let me wear this. I'm good. Sorry. Bring up my
Love
mom.
that.
Hey,
That's where
mom.
you went. Moms. What are the common questions that media ask you about AI? Like, is there anything surprising that comes up?
Well, I think one of the things that has been happening over the last couple of weeks, which is incredible, is there's more and more reporters who are writing about vibe coding as a profession. Um, and they've been reaching out to us. We have a professional vibe coder on our team. We also have this group of folks who are our vibe coders in residence. They're community champions who've been ambassadors for the brand, have used the product a lot, who are now kind of part of the team helping us create more things. But there's this entire new economy being built of people who have these skills that are really marketable skills and very, very important, whether you are a full-time vibe coder like Lazar on our team, or just somebody who's looking to get a job or working right now. This is a differentiating factor. So we do get questions like, we get to talk a lot about the job creation part of
Hmm.
what Lovable does, and it's multi-pronged, right? So you have folks who are professional vibe coders, folks who are getting promoted because they know how to vibe code at their company and are able to do something much more quickly, and then you have people who've like built entire businesses, might even have employees now because they've created a business and a product and it took off, and now we have this guy who created this like healthcare staffing platform and made a lot of money doing it, and that feels incredible. So we get to tell those stories. Those are the most fun. There's yeah, that's the first thing that comes up because it's been coming up a lot lately. Business Insider is now like has a whole beat just dedicated to kind of vibe coding and in that arena. And we're also hiring. It's just like, look, it's 2026. Layoffs are still a thing. Threats around AI taking jobs are still a thing. So being able to say like, we're hiring, by the way, we're hiring, I'm hiring on my team. Hello. And be able to tell the story about like how vibe coding. AI is not all doom and gloom. It's just not. Like,
Yeah.
there are literally people making money as a result of this technology existing.
I feel super optimistic about the world with AI. Like, I think it's going to
Awesome.
look significantly
Yeah.
different. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of like the future of the comms role is probably one person doing the whole thing, you know.
Yeah. How did you, because you've adjusted, because you have your consulting business, you've adjusted
Mm,
quite a bit to in this world, right? Now I'm
yeah.
asking you questions. Now you're on the
Yeah,
hot
I
seat.
love it. No, that's fine. No, yeah, absolutely. I think that the biggest thing that I've had to adjust to is understanding that there's probably like thousands, if not like, I don't know, like maybe in the M's, you know, of solopreneurs and founders because of companies like Lovable that are going to come out of the woodwork. They're going to be able to do 80% of the work by themselves. Like, let's
Yes.
just be real. Like,
Mhm.
they're going to be able to do that. But the last 20% or the final mile is what I call
Mhm.
that. They're
Mhm.
going to need a comms person for. Like,
Love that.
they can do the comms work through all the tools that exist about to
Yes.
80%, but they don't know what good looks like. They don't know when it's done. And they don't have the relationships to be able to properly execute, right? So what if our job is just one person doing the last 20%? And there's a huge opportunity for solo people or one person running a team in-house or whatever to be able to capitalize on all those new founders that are coming out and helping them get across the line.
I
That's what I
love that.
think the future looks like.
I love that. Way to
Yeah.
lean in, Katie.
Thanks, babe. What about so you're at Lovable. It's a bunch of young adults or it's a younger generation of workers.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like you're managing all of the stories that are coming out. You've built this narrative. You want everyone to live by the narrative, but like how much cat herding is it actually at the end of the day with all
Yeah.
of the innovation, all of the different directions people are starting their own companies like coming from a place like Salesforce, like that gives me hives a little bit. Like the controller in me wants to be like, go check with legal, but like you just
Yeah.
can't work like that, you know?
Yeah.
Like what does that look like for you?
Yeah. I love it. I have implemented a couple of like, "Hey, let's check this." Like,
Yeah.
no, one thing that was happening, and it's so I love this. But case studies with vendors that we're working with. Everyone's like, yeah,
Mm,
they reached out to us and they want to feature us. I was like, yes, that's actually not a small thing, right? This is, it's like, yeah, but I love working with them. I was like, I love that you love working with them, but like, we need to, is this somebody that we're going to be partnering with for a long time? Are you actually satisfied with the service? Or, should we be showing
yeah.
up here? So it's like this work stream. So now we have like a vendor approval process. Like we have some of those things
Cool.
in place where it's like, oh, that's just like early stage startup. You gotta grow. And the Lovable logo is in demand, which makes total sense. So everyone was like, "Can we feature you as a customer? Can we do a deep dive?" And I was like, "That those things take time. They take our employees' time, then they take comms
Yeah.
time to review. How are you positioning us?" So there are some things. There's definitely some structure. Yeah, again, it's that you have to kind of let go of control. We're a build-in public company, which means that every employee is not only empowered but encouraged to share what they're working on, to kind of share behind the scenes.
Love that.
You know, at first I was like, wait, that feels dangerous. But I also think it's really important when you know that you're building something worthwhile. You're all aligned against the
Yeah.
same mission. You have that customer centricity in you. Then it's easier to let go, and it gets a little exciting too because I'm like, ooh, what's going to come out today? I will also say that at Lovable, and I'm sure that there are other AI native companies where this is true. We're also at a stage where we have this really incredible mix of folks who are earlier in their career. Maybe this is even their first company and they're super AI native, really like technology forward. As you know, I mean, even when we start our careers, like folks who've been working for a long time are probably like, "Oh my God, you figured out Excel so quickly." It's like, yes, do
Yeah.
spreadsheets or whatever it may be. Now I'm now I'm on that other side in some ways, and there's this really great mix of like leaders we brought on who can do the pattern matching, who have the battle scars, who have been the systems thinkers, who've had to do all the dot connecting and know what good looks like. To your point, like that
Mhm.
last 20%, it's not just in comms, but it's in marketing, it's in revenue, it's in engineering, etc. And then there's these folks who are so bright, so unencumbered by a 30-page strategy deck before they ship something.
Yeah.
And again, that sounds wild, right? It's like, well, the playbook is you create a strategy and then you have this and you have pillars and and again, we still do in many ways. I don't want to make it sound like everything's fly by the seat of our pants, but working with folks who, haven't had to put together a deck to explain the exact content strategy of whatever, they're just so unencumbered and we move faster and it's kind of nice. So
sounds delicious.
Right?
Yeah.
So you kind of give a little guardrail like, oh, here's why we would do this instead of this. But then you kind of let go and realize like, oh, young people also are very smart and they're very online and they are the future. I'm starting to sound really old and crotchety. Let's bring this back. Like
you know what? No, I agree though.
Left in me. Yeah.
I sometimes even talking with some of my clients, and like the founders are like pretty religiously younger than me, like over and over again. And I feel like I get off the calls and I'm like, wow, you kids keep me so young.
I feel that too.
Love it. Like, I think the more that we can get pushed, the better we will be at letting go. Because I do think the control that we're used to having in our profession is only going to hold us back now, because we all know like playbooks are dead.
Yes.
A lot of people are saying like we can't even have one at all. Like you can't even have a strategy is a hot take I keep hearing. If we can figure out where the new guardrails look so that everyone can at least run through the same door with a different talk track, like let's just get through the same door. I feel like that is potentially what success looks like as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
And if you're working with founders, some of the, again, the basics still applies. Like, well, what's your mission? What are you trying to do, right? That shouldn't change day to day. If your mission is changing day to day, or if your core customer is shifting every other day, that's unsettling. And that just sounds like maybe you don't have product market fit, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you haven't given it deep thought. So there is still, to me, there's still strategy that comes from that. But like I said, like we pushed things on social, like 4 different things today. And in the past, it would have been like, well, let's schedule it and maybe Tuesday. And like, I remember like the Fast Company Award. I remember when I was at Grammarly and we won it in, I guess, 2019. And it was like everything under embargo and it was everything locked. I sent so many messages internally. We made a cake. Like we had a cake at work that was like in the shape of the award. It was like a big deal. And here it was like a Tuesday and we had...
There's no time for cake.
There's no time for cake. We do still have in our Stockholm office, we have lots of fun things, but there's just like, oh yeah, we not to downplay the award. It was really lovely, but it was just Tuesday. At this point.
Oh, totally. Well, I also think that to your point as well of like the messiness is almost the human and like the interesting part of the message now. It doesn't matter how you get from A to B. It's more just like, did you get to B, which is the key talking point. Yeah. And then the authenticity of the conversation actually just like humanizes an AI brand where people think it's just robots in the background. So.
Exactly. I'll also tell you, like, we are super focused on just human interaction. Like we do human interaction. But
well,
like,
even Anton's LinkedIn is just all people. Like I love that about his brand and what he does there. Oh, and I think that's very visible that he's very focused on the human side of building.
Yeah, we do a lot of events. We did like for International Women's Day, our community did over 120 events in 40 different countries because we made Lovable free for the day and we wanted to encourage everyone to build. It was a Sunday and people just showed up and showed out. And I love the in-person. In-person is so back, Katie. By the way, it's so back.
I'm jealous. I live out in buttfuck Egypt. You know that. And like, I miss the Bay, baby. I do.
Yeah, it's back. It's back. The Bay is back. You can always come. I don't know.
You guys are having a heat wave, aren't you? Too right now.
It's so beautiful right now. Yeah, it's feeling
like,
very.
I was talking to Brooke Kruger earlier this week, and she was like, "It's like we live in a resort town," and I was just like, "Shut up! It snowed here yesterday. I hate you."
Really? It snowed in Bend?
No, not really. It's cold as shit, though.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh my God.
Anyway, we're talking about the weather. We've diverted.
Yes.
All right.
We've diverged.
Okay,
We're
let's get back
we're
into
being
comms
dumb in
on the
public now, Katie. I'm sorry.
you know, we are dumb in public. This is it. What belief is popular in comms right now that you think is actually wrong?
I love that. I feel like there have been so many prevailing beliefs. I will say, okay, so I have a thought about AEO and GEO, and we got so into a tizzy about this, right? Like Muckrack put out this report that proved our worth. Like, yes, earned media still matters, and everything that corporate affairs and corporate comms functions work on, that is what's really driving the LLMs and what they're saying. And I got really excited too. I was like, more data. I love to measure. This is great. This proves my worth. And I feel like we went a little far where we're like, okay, now we're all back to press releases. And now everybody has to have a Reddit strategy yesterday. And also Wikipedia. Have we done enough on Wikipedia? Like, and then Wikipedia, wait, that's actually fueled by earned media. And now it all comes back to, there we go. We're landing on the exact same place. Like, you still want to get Bloomberg, and you still also want to
Yeah.
get TechCrunch, and you still want, just it hasn't actually shifted that much, but I feel like we got so excited, and they're like, how are we going to measure? And wait, who's going to own it? Is the growth team going to own it? And they're going to be able to say, and I'm working for a company where like PR has literally driven acquisition. Please never hold me to acquisition numbers, but it has.
Yeah.
But I would, yeah, I would anchor us more on, again, it's so basic, but it's like, what's the story you're trying to tell? Of course, you want to tell it across a number of different channels, because that creates more validity. And yeah, traditional media is still king in terms of trust when compared to other channels. That Yeah, I think the AEO piece might be over. Like, we over rotated, and we're like, what must we now do to feed the LLM? And I even wrote a LinkedIn post about it because I was so excited about it. And now I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, it's important. And also, yeah,
I think it's also really early. Like, it's really early to understand how big, if big at all, is what is going to happen with
yeah,
AEO and GEO. Like,
yeah,
and what I do think is really interesting is that there are a lot of platforms out there coming out and like trying to sell these GEO tools now. And there's a big conversation emerging from that around, are the tools, because it's so early, are
mhm,
these tools snake oil, and all we really
right.
need to be doing is the same old playbook?
Yes,
You
yes,
know, like,
yeah.
why do we need to buy this thing that is GEO when we know that what drives GEO is the same old thing?
Exactly, exactly. So it's because we want so badly to like be able to show, right? I think one of the
Yeah.
things that calms people, it's something that, I don't know, it's a chip on my shoulder, certainly, to be like, well, this really made a difference. This moved the needle, because so much of it is ultimately anecdotal, right? I know Deshaun the founder of Mixing Board, talks about this, or has talked about it as well. Yeah, it's, things that come up in sales conversations. It's, employer brand, like, someone who joins the company because they've seen a thing. And it can be really frustrating for us, like, because you do have to let go of ever fully understanding, everything that what you did drove. So there is a little bit of having faith. And hopefully you're working with people, either as a consultant or in an organization, that knows that it's important and has the right instincts to know that, yeah, we should invest in comms. I'm sure as a consultant, you've also faced people who are like, okay, how is this going to drive downloads? And you're like, well, I can suggest many other tactics that'll drive downloads, and this won't be it. But there, yeah, there is, I think, maybe still in the comms world, a chip on our shoulder where like we so desperately want to prove that the work matters, that we
Oh,
over rotate on
100%.
anything. Yeah.
I think that comms people have huge, weird phrasing. We have a huge issue with short man syndrome. Like, what is, like,
This is
what
true.
is the, my therapist would tell me that the reason that I over explain things is because as a child, I didn't feel like I was understood. And so
Mm.
now I over-explain when I'm talking
Mhm.
to people about something, and I
Yeah.
feel like that is calms people as a collective community. Like, we use too many words, we get we're trying to validate over and over rather than just, like, showing what we do. Like, we over-communicate and we over-jargon and we try to get buzzy and we try to make everything into a headline because we have this short man syndrome. We feel misunderstood.
Yeah. It's ironic, isn't it, that we
Mm.
are our own worst enemy sometimes.
It's a funny time that we're in,
It
but
is.
also really exciting. Like, I have a lot of hope for the future for comms, particularly in AI. I know the job market is absolutely tough right now, to, like, put it into nice words, but
Mhm.
I think that there's so much ahead of us. We just have to know that, like, what we do today is not gonna look the same tomorrow and just learn how to adapt and pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. I would
Mhm.
encourage that, like, no matter, I mentioned that the younger folks who are doing that now, like, they're learning now, so that's what they're doing. Like, there's like, this is what's available to me now. So they're, but let's not lose that mindset. Like, I think we all have to have more of that. And I think that's probably where the fear also comes from, is like, how do we keep up? It's like, you just gotta, you just go, you just try, you just like, that's the
100%.
part of like the vibe piece of the word of vibe coding and AI and all that is, yeah, that's just kind of the way to go.
I think y sorry.
No, change is scary. Change is scary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think the only way the one thing that AI has taught me is that the only thing that you can do is try it, and you cannot plan to try it. You just have to do things. So
Yes,
that's the approach that I take to comms now, with
I
obviously,
love
like, with
that.
the experience and the judgment that I have, but it's like, you just have to do this. You can't sit and plan for it. You're gonna miss the moment. You just
Mhm.
gotta do it.
Yeah, it's
And
very
that's really
nice and
scary
worth
because I'm
doing.
very much that type A planner as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But the good thing is, even if you are a planner, right? Like, there's a bit of like, you can still find structure. You can still mold in this. Like, you can be like, "All right, I'm just gonna try it," but you might have like a 5-step plan to trying it. You can still find your way of like, if you need that feeling of control in this space, you know?
I'm just gonna, like, start color coding things at home. I'm gonna, like, find control in other ways in my life.
Listen, we
Everything
do
is
what
just
we have to do.
hyper organized, like my poor husband. So I'm gonna end on this kind of question before we go into your dumb and private. So
Sure.
what do you know, like, given you're on the inside now, like, what do you know about where this is all going that
Mhm.
most comms people don't know yet?
I don't know what other comms people know. Sometimes I feel like I have my blinders on too, because I'm so focused on like what's right in front of me. Um, well, I can give you um the lovable spokesperson answer,
Love it.
right? And then I'll give you sort of my personal take on it. The lovable spokesperson answer is really very akin to the very thing that you just said. Just do things. Just do it. Just try. There's so many free tools. I mean, again, not just Lovable. There's so many ways that you can play around and like really lean in, to just be Sheryl Sandberg for a second. But you can try. Even I would encourage anyone who's yeah. I think the main piece, it kind of comes back to, maybe it comes back to, I'm going to try and pull this thread, but like the Waymo example, like, in many ways, we talked about not having control, but you are actually in control of like how much you lean into this like new wave of technology. And I think, yeah, I think fear is the killer here. Like, oh, I don't know how to, and I don't, it's like, things are free, try them.
Yeah.
I don't so I would encourage people to do that, because when you do it, it's like, it's so magical, and it's addicting. It really is addicting. Like, once you build, like, I built my Duolingo app, but we also, during the pandemic, my husband and I, to rekindle our love, started making candles together. And he built this like hideous spreadsheet with like, this is how much wax we need, and this is like what we need to order from candlescience.com and whatnot. And I'm like, this is so ugly and I hate this. And like, now with Lovable, we have our own little app called Make It Make Sense, like SCENT. This is the most wholesome thing about me, Katie. But now we use our little candle app to decide what to make, what to, send our friends, like, fill out this so that we know what to make for you. But it's that in and of itself, I'm like, I now have more confidence when I take a technology like this into work because I know how to use it and I know, what to do. So yeah, I think like the main message, what do I know that other comms people don't, is like it's actually not that hard and you just gotta go. Now that's
Yep.
I guess the spokesperson and the raw answer. My more raw answer is relationships. Like it does not matter. Like you just said, like that last 20%, like
Yeah.
and so much of it is like the relationships you've built with media and others, I'm sure. But like at the end of the day, like having this moment, Katie, and agreeing to do this podcast, like I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it because yeah, I don't care how much the technology changes in the world that we're living in. Like at the end of the day, like go touch grass and go hang out with a friend. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
That's
maybe not very insightful. Maybe this is also me projecting like the world that I care about, which still is very much grounded in human connection.
I have two things to say about that. One, I was really hoping that you would tell that candle story. So I'm glad that we got that out in the last mile. So
Make it make
cute.
sense.
It's the most wholesome thing. I love it so much. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, comms people are people. I think especially with like this vision of the last 20% that I was talking about before, comms people might be doing the work alone moving forward. What does it look like to do the work alone together? And relationships are going to be more important than ever. And having that human connection and remembering to get outside and touch grass, and the people that you work with are people and have
Yes.
families and lives outside of the screens that we're working on every day. So I love that sentiment. And it's just another reason why I love you so much, Senka.
Aw, I love you, Katie.
Okay. So it's a love affair.
No, very sweet.
Now that
It's very
everyone knows,
lovable. Sorry. Oh my God. So
yeah,
cheesy.
now that everyone knows like how we talk when we're on the phone. This has just been an hour of us catching up. This has been so
Yes,
much fun.
this is actually very true. We've been trying to catch up for a while. So let's do it on air. Do it
I
live.
love it. So just might as well record it. Make it live.
We're building in public. We're building our friendship in public.
This is how you build in public. So this is what we mean when we tell executives to do this. Are you dumb in private? How are you dumb in private? Share that with the world.
All right. I guess this is technically in public because I'm dumb in public. I have an atrocious sense of direction, but I walk with a lot of confidence. It's really bad for anyone who's with me because it's my husband or a group. I'm like, let's go. Da, 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 da. And then like 2 blocks down, everyone's like, do you know where you're going? I was like, absolutely not. No.
So you want to be in front.
I always end up in front. I have like, let's go energy about me. And then we end up going and I'm like, that is not north. That is south. And we should go this way. And I live, very close to an ocean. You think I would be able to orient myself, at least in San Francisco. But yeah, I'm very, very bad at directions. It's embarrassing. I use Google Maps like in my car for like going to the same place every day. Oh my God, I said it on air. I feel free.
Really? That's good. You should feel free.
Having said that, yeah, I was very vulnerable.
It's the first step to curing your addiction to needing to lead the pack all the time, even when you don't know where you're going. Is this 12-step program? The first thing is admitting the problem.
Yeah. I'm hiring. I'm going to lead the pack. Come join me.
You're like, come work for me. This is going to be great, everyone.
Yeah.
I love that. Senka, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us again. And again, sending apologies from Duffy. She was sorely missed this episode, but I know she really wanted to hang out with you. But if anyone else has a suggestion for an episode or guest, please email us. Let us know at hello@smartandpublicpod.com. You can also find us at smartandpublicpod on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. So thank you, everybody. We're going to take a couple of weeks off, but we'll chat to you mid-April next time. Okay. See you later. Bye.